Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Silver Slayer. Thanks for tuning in and welcome. So, I was browsing around the precious metals realm today, just going over some articles, just looking at some stuff, and I found this article with the headline "Silver could explode within weeks." And at first, I just wrote it off as silver pumping, just some random person, but it was written from Zero Hedge, one of the more respectable, reputable sites on here. So I wanted to see their perspective. I didn't just want to write them off. Now, a lot of people are actually bearish on the short term for silver, and they're bullish for the medium to long term. So I want to see why they have a different perspective, what their reasoning is, and to add on top of that, if if we have time, I do want to go over this article that is really good, talking about the perfect storm for silver, how the stars have aligned, how the perfect storm is here, how everything's adding up for silver to be explosive. So with that said, without further ado, smash the like button, subscribe. Let's jump into it. So, do you have a flashlight, spare batteries, and some duct tape stashed away for home emergencies like power outages or hurricanes? Of course you do. How about 100 ounces of silver coins? If not, you should. So automatically we get the perspective that they're coming from, and that's more of an SHTF, catastrophic, apocalyptic type of background, which is perfectly fine. That stuff is definitely possible, and you do need to be prepared at all times for everything. A lot of us probably came into the investing world or the precious metals world from that type of background. So, in an extreme social infrastructure breakdown where banks, ATMs, and store scanners are offline, silver coins might be the only way to buy groceries for your family. This is one of the many reasons why sales of silver coins and bullion are set to skyrocket. And I like how they say one of the many reasons, because this is a small, small window to look at silver's potential through. But the upcoming election and its aftermath could witness social unrest that would make this summer's chaos look downright tame. We might not even know the winners for several weeks after the election. Things could get very ugly. And I do agree with that. Last year I was talking a lot about 2020 being an explosive year for silver, and that was before I knew there was going to be a global pandemic. So throwing a global pandemic on top of the U.S. presidential election, especially when that pandemic has opened up so much financial, just financial chaos. I mean, the USD is on ice for being the world's reserve currency. Countries are opting out of it. Everyone knows how broke America is now. $1 trillion stimulus packages, $27 trillion in debt. 22% of that was within the last 20 years or 10 years, something crazy like that. So I really hope that things don't go this route. I don't want silver to explode soon. I don't want it to. A lot of people probably do. You would think when you're investing into something, you want it to do good. I don't want it to do good yet. I still have another 5, 10, 15 years under me that I want to accumulate silver, so then I can really make some profits. So anyway, let's continue on. If that happens, shortages will appear and the price of silver could soar to $60 per ounce or higher from the current levels of about $25 per ounce. And that's obviously what would happen if that were to happen. Or a lot of times people say, if you really want to go into SHTF stuff, it can get very, very complex. I've made a couple of videos on my channel, like junk silver versus SHTF. I made a couple of videos, going that route. If I were to go that route, you definitely want junk silver. It's the perfect bartering coin, right? But I'm not going to go into reasons. That's a whole separate video. Let's just keep going on, though. Silver's more practical than gold. As you know, I write and speak frequently on the role of gold in the monetary system, yet I rarely discuss silver. So assume I dislike silver as a hard asset for your portfolio. That's not true. In fact, in an extreme crisis, silver may be more practical than gold as a medium of exchange, which is totally true. You can't be, I mean, even a 10th ounce gold round is like what, $200 plus. That means you're going to have like the most fractional, the smallest amount of gold to make any type of transaction. And even like a 1 gram would just be too much. Silver is the perfect because it's small denominations, even less than 1 ounce. You can get the fractional, the junk silver, like I was just talking about. And that's a perfect, like a mercury dime is the same as like a 10th ounce round, but it's cheaper and you don't make it anymore. It's a piece of American history. It's respectable, it's recognizable, it's perfect, especially for bartering in a situation like this, because you want people to recognize that your stuff is real. Everyone would recognize some old American silver, right? They might not recognize a 1/10 ounce round made from some mint, especially if they're not silver stackers. They're not going to know the Volcambi mint or the Sunshine mint, but they would recognize a mercury dime. I could put money on that. So, silver is more difficult to analyze than gold because gold has almost no uses except money. Gold is widely used in jewelry, but I consider gold jewelry as a hard asset, what I call wearable wealth, and that's exactly what gold is. Silver, on the other hand, has many industrial applications. Silver is both a true commodity and a form of money. This means that the price of silver may rise or fall based on industrial utilization and business cycles, independent of monetary factors such as inflation, deflation, and interest rates. Nevertheless, silver is a form of money along with gold, dollars, Bitcoin, and euros, and always has been. A lot longer than those other things too. 5,000 years, gold and silver have been seen as a form of value, or a tradable form of currency. The once and future of money. My expectation is that as savers and investors lose confidence in central bank money, they will increasingly turn to physical gold, or physical money, which is gold and silver, and non-central bank digital money, which is Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies as stores of wealth and a medium of exchange. And I definitely agree with that. I'm actually pretty surprised they put in cryptocurrency as well. I rarely see that as another alternative beside precious metals, but it does make sense, right? Centralized platforms, centralized banks. If you don't trust that, then you would obviously go the decentralized route, which is cryptocurrency. It's a decentralized form of money. There is no bank of Bitcoin. There is no one bank. It's decentralized, so it's the exact opposite. Everyone controls the network. Everyone controls the blockchain. And if you want to make a change on the blockchain, everyone has to vote. It's not like someone has the power to make those decisions. It's everyone as a community. And it's digital. I mean, we're moving in a new digital age, technologically advancing. Everything's digital. Swipe of a card, cardless ATMs, Bitcoin ATMs. Everything's scanning now. QR codes. There is no... Go to the grocery store, see how many people give actual cash. It's all digital now, right? So Bitcoin would make sense. In short, silver is as much a monetary metal as gold, and has just as good of a pedigree when it comes up to use as coinage. Silver has supported the economies of empires, kingdoms, and nation states throughout history. Before the Renaissance, world money existed as precious metal coins and bullion. Caesars and kings hoarded gold and silver, dispensed it to their troops, fought over it, stole it from each other. Land has been another form of wealth since antiquity. Still, land is not money because, unlike gold and silver, it cannot be easily exchanged. It has no uniform grade. The birth of fractional reserve banking. So in the 14th century, Florentine bankers called that because they worked on a bench or banco in the piazzas of Florence and other city-states, accepted deposits of gold and silver in exchange for notes, which were a promise to return the gold and silver on demand. The notes were a more convenient form of exchange than physical metal. They could be transported long distances or redeemed for gold and silver at branches of Florentine Family Bank in London or Paris. And that's where you can kind of see the first type of money coming from, or the I guess it's not really money, it's a promise. It's a promissory note. So the first QE, which also stands for quantitative easing. Despite the advent of banking notes and fractional reserves, gold and silver retained their core role as world money. Princes and merchants still held on gold and silver coins and purses and stored precious metals in vaults. Bullion and paper promises stood side by side. Still, the system was bullion-based. Silver performed a leading role in the system. If gold was the first world money, silver was the first world's currency. Silver's popularity as a monetary standard was based on supply and demand. Gold was always scarce. Silver was more readily available. It's more realistic. So Charlemagne invented quantitative easing, or QE, in the 9th century by substituting silver for gold coinage to increase the money supply in his empire. Spain did the same thing in the 16th century. Under the U.S. Coinage Act of 1792, both gold and silver coins were legal tender in the U.S. from 1794 to 1935. U.S. Mint issued silver dollars in various designs, and this is the perfect example of why or how silver's timeless. Because when silver was in our money, it was attached to it. So a 50-cent walking Liberty had 50 cents of silver inside of it. So you were trading, or you were giving someone that actual value. If I was going to the store to put 50 cents in my tank, I was giving them a 50-cent walking Liberty. I was actually giving them 50 cents of value for, in exchange, 50 cents of product. Nowadays, though, if you hand them 50 cents, you're not giving them anything that's worth anything, because there's not 50 cents of silver in it anymore. You're giving them a promise that could be worth 50 cents, but we know it's not. The dollar's lost 98% of its purchasing power. So I'm not going to dive too deep into what they're saying, because it's kind of it's just a little it's just overextended, right? The whole point of this is to see why, or what the reasoning is. So I'm not going to go into like too much of a history lesson, but let's keep going on. Silver wins no matter who wins the election, and that's so true. I've been saying that since silver's an industrial and a monetary metal. Silver has had a very good year, which should not surprise you, since gold had a very good year, and the two metals generally, but not always, track one another. Silver has backed off a bit from its August high over $28 per ounce on July 13th, but is still holding tough around $25 today. Regardless of which party wins the U.S. presidential election in November, the U.S. is set for more fiscal stimulus in 2021 and lots of government spending. See, no matter who wins, billions, if not trillions of dollars are going to be thrown into the economy, hurting the dollar index, which in return is directly correlated to gold and silver, meaning gold and silver will rise. When the dollar's low, gold and silver rise. And that's a direct correlation. They said it's like a negative 0.09% off, that's the margin of error between that. Meaning, when they throw this money in the economy, it hurts the dollar. That's obvious, right? It hurts the dollar. So the dollar index drops. And as soon as the dollar index drops, that is literally 100% guarantee that precious metals will rise. So we can literally guarantee that if and when they push out stimulus, precious metals prices will rise. I don't know what else is a more surefire way to prove to you guys that precious metals will rise, but that's like, it's I can't even explain. There's literally nothing that can prove it more than that. Nothing. So, and it gets even crazier. If Joe Biden wins, Democrats will push for free healthcare for all, free healthcare for illegal immigrants, and the Green New Deal, green energy, green revolution, solar panels. Demand in solar panels over the next 5 years will push higher. Silver is used in solar panels. So if Biden wins, silver demand skyrocketing. President Trump wins, you'll see a lot more spending, which means the dollars hurt more, which means gold and silver in return rise. So no matter who wins, we're going to see gold and silver benefiting from this. And it even says that. So either way, we're looking at more spending, bigger deficits, and more money printing, and eventually more inflation. The market's anticipation of this outcome starting in early November will be a powerful tailwind for silver. Investors should prepare now before the spike. Get in before the curve. You don't want to start investing while everyone else is, because that's when the prices are higher. You got to get in before the curve, and then you're the one selling to the people that are just finding out about it, or just finally, jumping the gun to get into it. I can compare this to Bitcoin. I started buying Bitcoin at $1,800. Everyone called it a terrible investment back then. Everyone was calling me crazy for buying it back then. But I did. And then Bitcoin got popular. Coinbase was the #1 downloaded app on Android, iOS. Then Bitcoin started to break past 15,000. That's when people started buying it. At 15,000 when I bought it at 1,800. Then I sold my Bitcoin at 18,000 while most people were buying it there. See, you got to get in before the curve. You don't want to buy it while everyone else is. That means it's too late. It's too late. You got to get in beforehand, and that's exactly what we're doing. That's exactly the opportunity we have right now with silver. You don't want to start buying silver after it's $50, $60, $70. You got to get it right now if you want to make some real money, that is. So I might break this. Basically, they're just, they're going over the price in the next few weeks, looking at the charts. I'm not gonna look over this too much. I don't like my videos being too long. I don't want to make a separate video about this because it is pretty similar to this one. But the perfect storm: cities prepare for riots, election results might be contested, money is printed in excess, pandemic numbers are getting worse and worse. Certainly conglomerate in a perfect storm, but it will need a surprise element for getting ugly in a hurry. Preparation's key. Keeping it simple is the key. Planning for the worst and having an action plan is prudent. And that's true. You always got to be prepared. Even if it doesn't happen, no matter what, you got to be prepared. Because then if it does happen and you're not prepared, you're screwed. You always got to be prepared. So I hope you enjoyed this video. This was definitely a more serious video. I didn't think this video was going to get this serious, but I'm glad it did, because this is definitely some very, very important stuff that we have to look over. And I hope that you guys now watching through this, if you've stuck around this long, thank you. Now that if you have stuck around this long, now you can see how severe this is, the severity of it, and also how important and why it's so important to take control of your wealth. You don't want to be keeping your money in US dollars during this time when so much could go so bad for it, right? So anyways, I'm going to wrap this video up here. If you thought this video was educational, informational, or at least entertaining, make sure to smash the like button. Subscribe if you're new. I post daily videos. This was Silver Slayer. Thanks for tuning in. See you guys soon.